Call the meeting to order of the Carson City Debt Management Commission, dated Tuesday, August 10th at 1:30 p.m. Roll call, please.
Chairperson Hadaway,
Here.
Vice Chair Providenti,
Here.
Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Sanada, Commissioner Varner. A quorum is present.
Okay. Stan Jones is on vacation and will not be joining us, and Nick is on just that little square up there on the. Hello, Nick. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. There you go. You look better. Public comment. The public is invited at this time to comment on, discuss any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of the Carson City Debt Management Commission. I see no public, so we will continue. We have the minutes of February 16th, 2021, and unless there's any suggested changes, I'll entertain a motion to approve those as prepared.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from February 16th, 2021.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay.
Abstaining.
Oh, that's right, you weren't here, right.
Yeah.
Okay, item D is discussion and possible action regarding Carson City's annual reports, statements of debt management policy, plans for capital improvements, and updates of information as required by NRS 350.013. D1 is Carson City, and D2 is Carson City School District. So if you all could walk us through and hit the highlights of your submitted material, which I submit is very detailed. Thank you for that.
Very voluptuous, yes. Sherry Russell, CFO for the record. And just, Mr. Chair, public is able to call in to make comments, so we usually ask them if they have anybody on the line.
Oh, okay.
Just, I don't want us to break any rules.
Is there anybody on the line that is wanting to make any comments besides Mr. Providenti?
There are no callers on the line at this time.
Okay, thank you.
There we go. Rules all followed. All right, so I'm going to start with the indebtedness reports for Carson City. RDA, I'm proud to announce, has paid off all of their debt for our redevelopment authority. The capital, we have to report to the state as well, and it's $2.2 million in capital that's all coming from the tax increment.
Just, yeah,
Yes.
clarification. So this schedule of those are anticipated projects in the coming year?
Yes, so that's from the 22 budget, which does match our physical 22 budget that we filed with the state. And then we have to project a 5-year CIP plan.
Okay, so the 990 in undesignated, is that going to be bonded?
No, undesignated means it's tax increment that is in the fund that we haven't determined what projects we're going to spend it on yet.
Okay, but will the others be bonded then?
No,
Okay, they'll just be paid.
no, I'm sorry. What I mean from the tax increment is the redevelopment property taxes pay for that, pay for all of this capital.
Okay,
So
Thank
it's
you.
all revenue, no bonds.
thank you.
And I'm sorry, our city lingo isn't always clear. And then, so redevelopment and Carson City are actually two separate entities, so they have two separate indebtedness reports. So Carson City indebtedness report is $163 million in debt currently. That is on page 2 of the indebtedness report. And I kind of want to get into a little more detail when we get to the policy, the actual debt management policy. So on page 2 of the actual debt management policy, it has a list of our outstanding debt. And those are all of our debt issues, the maturity dates, what we actually issued, and what's currently outstanding. And if you total all those, that equals the 163,038 for Carson City. So the policy includes both RDA and Carson City because redevelopment is a blended component unit of Carson City. So it's in the annual financial report of Carson City. It's the same entity. So our policies are together. And then I was just going to go over real quick page 9. If you look, each type of debt that's reported on in this debt management policy,
Just a minute. Page 9 of the debt management policy.
yes. And each type of debt that is in this debt management policy will have a coverage ratio, which tells us whether or not we have the revenue to pay that debt. So we always want it to be at least 1 times because we want to be able to pay our full debt. And as you go through the report, they're all over 1 times.
Are there any bond requirements on these, or is this out of policy?
This is the policy.
Okay.
So as you go through, you'll see all those coverage ratios, and they are all over 1%. And then the last thing I'll mention is on page 27. Yes. And that's just a little chart that shows Carson City is comparable to the other counties. And we always look really bad on this schedule, but we are a consolidated municipality. So really, if we took Washoe County and we added Reno, Sparks, Tumwa, RTC, we added all their separate entities in, we added all that debt, the assessed value, it would be a lot worse too. It would look like a higher percentage, and the per capita amount would be much higher as well. Yes, yes.
You might want to address the calculations on page 26 also.
Yeah, that's just our debt limit, and this is 15% of our consolidated taxes. Or I'm sorry, 15% of our assessed value. Most counties have a 10%, but because we're a consolidated municipality, we get 15%. So that's, that ratio, it's 288,000 is what we're allowed to issue. And we're at 148 of general obligation debt. So that doesn't take into account our medium term and non-geo debt. So we've got $140,000 in leeway there that we would be able to issue if needed. We
It's
do
actually
have-
million.
Yeah, 140 million. Thank you. We do have a few debt issues that are coming. We're going to be doing some more street projects so that sales tax, the sales tax fund, infrastructure fund, we are always planned on issuing 2 bonds. We issued 1 bond a couple years ago for $7 million, and it's coming time pretty soon here that we'll be issuing that second one for hopefully about the same amount at $7 million. We are looking at other funding sources, though, to try to disperse that money. And then the other one is the fire station we're looking at building. Again, we're looking at ARPA money and other revenue sources for that, but that's a $10 million project that we'll likely be bringing back to you at some point to bond some portion of it.
This is on page 5 of the debt management policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will require action. Both of those, if you go with bonds, will require action of this bonding.
Yes,
Do
we're
you-
not at that point yet.
Do you
This
have
is
a
just projected.
timetable on that in terms of?
We're kind of waiting to see what the federal government's going to give to us, and so they're taking a little bit of time. And we have some, the American Recovery Plan Act, we have a little bit of that set aside already for it. So once we figure out the other infrastructure piece from the federal government, then we'll know what we need to bond.
Okay. So there may be a need for a special meeting or,
There may be,
yeah.
there may
okay.
be. We might be able to do it in February too, so.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Mary?
Yeah, I had, when I was looking over this, it was talking about those proposed projects, and it was anticipating our interest rate was going to be 5%.
That's our consultant being very conservative. He always looks at the worst-case scenario, which I love because I do the same thing. But right now, we're getting like 1 to 2%
That's what
interest
I
rate.
thought.
So it would be much smaller, but he's, again, worst-case scenario.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the debt management policy or the capital improvement plan? There was that included in the packet also. That's a fluid plan, of course, depending upon funding sources and emergencies that come up. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
We'll call on the school district for your presentation.
Thank you, Chair Hadaway. And I will back up Sherry's statement on how conservative our bond advisor is with rates that he uses. My name is AJ Fueling. I'm the CFO for Carson City School District. Our plan, debt management policy.
Can he take his mask off during presentation?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, why don't you?
Will that help? Okay, thank you. Ours is not quite as complicated as the city's, so there's not quite as much to go through, but I'll focus on since the indebtedness report and the debt management policy effectively have kind of the same information, I'll just walk through the debt management policy, and if you have any questions, please stop me. So looking at page 1, currently we have about $59 million in outstanding general obligation debt. And going to page 2, you can see with interest in total, it's about $73 million that we are accountable for. The school district has a 43-cent debt service property tax levy that easily covers this obligation for us going forward. That levy was approved as a part of the 2010 rollover bond question that the voters of Carson City approved. At that time, our debt service rate was actually 47 cents, and we reduced it to 43. So that authorization in the 2015 legislative session, originally the authorization was to have this rollover bond option through 2020. In the 2015 legislative session, that got extended for school districts to 2030. In this most recent legislative session, that was again extended, and that is now good for us until 2035. On page 3, shows just the obligations for the current fiscal year. We have about $6.4 million in payments that will be due. Excuse me. And we have recently, in this last year, paid off 2 prior issuances, so we've freed up quite a bit of funds here going into the new year. School districts are required to keep 50% in reserve of whatever the next fiscal year's payments are. So with our reserve, we are actually at about 87%. So we are well above the requirement by NRS. Pages 4 and 5 show a proposed bond sale. We recently talked about this with our board, and as of this time, we're looking at about an $11.9 million issuance. The sale, if fully approved by the board, would happen in September. The Debt Management Commission.
September of this year?
Correct, yeah, sorry, September of this year. The Debt Management Commission, a couple years back, authorized up to $40 million in debt issuance for the school district. In 2019, we issued $11 million in new construction bonds, and we did a small refunding last year of an amount of $5 million. So we still have about $24 million remaining in authorization.
So the Debt Management Commission will not have to take action on that one?
That is correct. On page 7, it shows in similar fashion the different school districts and what their general obligation debt is as a percentage of assessed value. And we are right in line with the larger school districts in the state, save Washoe County. If you remember, a couple years back, they passed their WC1 question, so they were able to issue significantly more to build schools and make large improvements across the district. Otherwise, I was going to mention some of the current capital projects we have going on. We're finished, the 3 major ones that we're finishing up, well, 2 that we're finishing up soon, and then 1 ongoing. The Carson High football field has been completely ripped up. That is artificial turf, and we're replacing that altogether. It's about a $1 million project. It's beautiful. I would highly recommend all of you to go to a game this year. The district office is having a renovation/expansion going on. We started this project in 2005 and did about half of the building and ran out of money. And we thought, well, gosh, we can just go out in 2008 and bond for the balance. Well, then the economy died. And so we weren't able to do that. So we're finally finishing up that work. And then the biggest project is the expansion of Eagle Valley Middle School. And part of this issuance that will be coming up here in September will help cover the balance of the costs there. The costs of construction have just exploded and well beyond what we initially thought it would be. So, but that project is expected to be complete this coming summer, so that in the 22-23 school year, they'll be able to start using that facility, adding 10 regular classrooms and 2 classrooms that are what they call STEM labs, so science, technology, engineering type labs. So it's a pretty neat addition to that building, and that'll make the size of Eagle Valley comparable to Carson Middle School. So you have 2 similar size schools now in the community. On the capital improvement plan, otherwise, the other larger ticket item, and it's really just a holding piece, is you may have heard the district talking about purchasing the 1600 Snyder property, the old Capital Christian Church facility. That is still up for discussion with the board. And if that doesn't happen, there are many major maintenance projects we otherwise have in line. Many of our facilities are from the 50s and 60s, so there's quite a bit of work that could be done there. Envelope roofing, pavement security type things. So that's where the school district is.
In the large Lampa Ranch subdivision that's going on south of the high school, there's a site for elementary school?
Correct, yeah.
That's reserved. Any plans in the
So yeah,
this
there's,
timeframe?
well, not in the immediate future, this coming year. There are 10 acres that are set aside. Initially, the expectation, when we were first discussing this 4 or 5 years ago, the expectation is that we would, due to that expansion, we would certainly need another elementary school in the area. What has really complicated things is COVID. And so where we had enrollment projections going on out a number of years, and now these 2 years, our enrollments have been down with families deciding to pull their kids out for various reasons. So it's not exactly clear where our enrollment is going, but clearly the city is growing. I did a little study back about 4 years ago, looking at the historical relationship between the number of students enrolled in Carson City and the population of Carson City. And it seems like it's always about 13 to 15%. I'm really interested to see the 2020 final census numbers so I can do that comparison again. But if Carson City builds out to 75,000 to 80,000 people, which is kind of the understanding right now, at that point, we would likely need 2 more elementary schools, 1 more middle school, and potentially a new high school, because we would have somewhere between 3,500 to about 4,100 high school age kids in Carson City. But again, the demographics are changing in the city too, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out here in the coming years.
Yeah, it's a gray growth right now.
Yeah,
Gray hair.
it is.
Any questions on school debt management, capital improvements, whatever? Okay, thank you for your presentation.
Great, thank you very much.
I think we need a motion to accept these reports from both the city and the school district for the record.
I'll make a motion to accept the reports of the city and the school district debt management.
Second.
Okay, any questions, comments? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming. Item E, discussion and possible action regarding percentage of limitation on total ad valorem tax levy required 350.0155. And we have traditionally set aside 10%, at least since I've been on the board. So unless there's a suggestion to change that, I would entertain a motion that we set the limit at 10% per 350.015.
I'll make a motion that we set that limit at 10%.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, item F, discussion possible action regarding priorities among essential and non-essential facilities and services as required, again by 350.0155. And again, for quite a while, the priorities have been public safety, education, and health. I'll entertain a motion on the establishment of those priorities for this next year.
I'll make a motion that we set the priorities for this next year in public safety, education, and health.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
thank you. And I guess the last thing we do is set the time and date for the next meeting, which is in February, and normally it's either the second or third Tuesday. Anyone have any preference? Anyone know their conflicts that far in advance?
No,
Well, if not,
either one would be,
I'll suggest Tuesday Tuesday the 8th at 1:30. Anyone have a problem with that? Okay, we'll have that, and with the possible knowledge that we might have a need for a special meeting to address any issues that the city might have on their possible indebtedness issues. Again, item H, a public comment. The public is invited at this time to comment on any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. No action may be taken on the matter raised under this item of the agenda. Are there any questions? Are there any telephone calls?
There are no callers on the line at this time.
Okay, thank you. All righty, unless there's any further action, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for coming.